How you guys doing? I'm beginning out of the light here while I'm opening up the shop. It's the first day in the post-Paul era. Kind of sad still, but he already found another job, so I knew he'd land on his feet, so that's all good. My job here is still open the shop up, start a day in the shop. We got a bunch of cars to fix from yesterday still. I think they got a throttle body coming for the F150. They got some parts coming for the other F150. Oh, that's an Expedition. We got an Expedition F150. A couple other things is the Hyundai needs an engine still out in the parking lot. I think she's coming to tow that out of here today. I think Hyundai's going to do something for her on that one. There'll be plenty to do. I think Katie's husband Rob starts today in Paul's position. So let's see what happens with that. Rob's a real cool guy. Pretty high energy and all that. So we'll see how that goes. Should be fun. Still got a little bit of a heartache because Paul's my friend, but it is what it is. Maybe things will be better. We'll see. That's all you can do, right? Is keep rowing and make it work. That's our specialty. So let's stop yapping and get to it. Let's learn a thing or two and have some fun. Stay tuned. We're firing this day up with a 2013 Ford Focus. Let's hop inside and take a look. A lost power steering. All right. Shh. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. No crying. Let's see here. I know it's got some mileages on it. 266,550 miles. My goodness gracious. They never stay at home and watch movies and relax. They're driving everywhere. 200. How many times you go around the Earth? You guys know the Earth's circumference? 266K. That's a lot of mileages. Anyway, I'm gonna find out if this thing has electric power steering, hydraulic power steering, and to do that we'll have to pop the hood. We're gonna give her a love rating of I'm gonna say 3. The seats need a little steam cleaning and a lot of clutter and stuff, but it's a borderline, maybe 3.5. All right, let's get on our hood and see what we got for steering system style or design. Well. Uh-oh, I see an electric steering motor on the rack and pinions, and no belt and no power steering pump. So it's electric steering. Let me put my scanner on and see if we got any codes, and then we'll have to find a fuse and that kind of thing. Sometimes a car can have a weak battery, and when they jump start it, it'll take out a power steering motor fuse. Very possible. Codes should tell us which way to go first, and I'll pull a wiring diagram and find out where the fuse might be in the meantime. Let's go ahead and scan this thing, and keys on in there obviously, otherwise it wouldn't be talking, right? I might have a someone contact me wanting me to try an Autel scanner that's comparable to this, same category. So I might get an Autel scanner soon and compare them, see which one I like, what I like and don't like about each of them. The biggest thing on this one is that topology thing is a real stickler for me. I don't like the way they did that at all. But we'll see what happens with this, if the Autel one comes or not. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Oh, also too, on these boots, they're wearing really fast. The soles are halfway worn. They're 2.5 months old, and my feet are starting to ache a little bit by the end of the day too. Now, I'm not sure if that's because I'm an old man and my feet are bad, or if the boots are blowing out inside. It kind of feels like to me. So what I might do, I'll run these the rest of the week, and I might try my my Doc Martens again next week and see if my feet hurt more or less. But so we got a couple experiments going on as usual. Oh, power steering control module. Enter. Let's see what kind of codes we got in that thing. Memory codes. Come on, girl, you can do it. Control module failure. Uh-oh. Let me go ahead and pull these codes up in Identifix. See what the next process is going to be. Probably checking fuses, power and ground. If the power and ground are good. Steering rack. Customers are waiting, so we'll see what happens with that. I'm going to look that stuff up real quick. We'll come back and I'll show you guys. Yeah, real quick before I went inside, I did a code clearing and key on engine off test, and that code comes right back. So, all right, we'll be right back. All right, we're concerned with the Megafuse 80. That one I'm going to check down at the steering rack, blue wire, and I'm going to check for ground on the black wire. Then this Fuse 45 amp is what powers only with the key on. This should have voltage on it. So I'm going to check that up here. I can check it now, the rack too, of course, but basically 100% of the people with these codes, it was a rack and pinion, but I still want to prove it out. Got my voltage on the other side, got my voltage. So I've got good voltage on both sides of that, but I think it looked like it read a little differently, probably my connection. Let's get the poker in there. 12.2. Other side, 12.2. Okay, just a connection. So I got good voltage on the communication fuse, basically is what that's for. And then the main power and ground for the heavy duty side on the motor, we got to go check below at the rack. If I got my 12 volts here, then the rack's bad. Obviously the ground as well. So I'll use those two wires for power and ground on my meter. See what we got. You want to put some kind of a load on it. So I'll do that if I need to, if there's any doubt. You know, if I have 12.2 volts and I have 10.9 at the rack, then I'll load it and see if the voltage goes away. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. I'm basically going through the motions just to be relatively sure here before we sell a rack that's pretty expensive, right? You don't want to just go, Identifix said it needs a rack. You got to at least do some of the steps, narrow everything down to a tiny little window of possibility. Once I have power and ground, that's where we're at. Oh, now you turned on your own. That's nice. All right. 12.2 volts. I don't know if you can see it. It's hard to do with one hand. There it is. All right. This thing needs a rack. Enough playing around. Don't be jealous. 2005 Chevrolet Tahoe. Customer said there must be a screw loose on my seat. These things break, the plastic breaks and stuff. He also wants to know his AC doesn't work all that great. He said it works pretty good, but not great. Honestly, it feels ice cold to me. I'm gonna get my temp dealio and we'll do a infrared image. It feels like it's in the 40s. It's pretty cold. This guy's real particular. You'd never know he's driving a vehicle with 225,000 miles on it. We put an engine in about 60,000 miles ago. He skipped a couple oil changes. His wife was driving it and ruined an engine. So we put an engine in it. Airbag lights on. He's not worried about that. He never asks about it. He wants a safety inspection. He says about a bulb being out. So we're going to make a little list on this one. We'll see what happens with it. First thing I'm going to do is check the lights real quick while it's running and get a screwdriver and see if I can find a screw hole for them screws or if something's broken. Alright, I got it kind of back in place, but it seems like where this screw is supposed to go in, the threads must be stripped out, so there's nothing really to screw it into. So I can kind of get it back, but it's going to give him trouble. We're going to have to open the seat up and either put blind nuts in those little brackets or weld up the holes and re-drill them or something like that. So a few of the screws will hold and a few won't. Basically it's an old vehicle and that's what happens. Now replace the seats, probably 1,200 bucks, or you get a used one that's not far behind and make it better temporarily. Oh, you want a love rating? It's a 3, I'm gonna say. This used to be a nice shape. No disrespect to his wife, but when she started driving it, it got messier. I don't know, maybe she's just really busy, doesn't have time. Steering wheel's pretty badly deteriorated, and the airbag, you know, that's what bothers me most on this vehicle, the airbag light being on. Let me get my infrared deal, and we'll see what the temperature is on the AC. All right, got a bunch going on here at one time, so hang on. It's gonna get bumpy. Got the thermal imager firing up, got the scan tool talking. We're going to see why the airbag light's on, at least write the code down. He wanted a safety inspection, and he talked about lights being out. But to me, your airbag is really important. He has the right reverse lights out. So, I mean, it's nice for backing up at night, but it's not really a safety item to me. It's a convenience item. A lot of European cars, they have a fog light on one side and a reverse light on the other side in the back. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead, note the airbag codes. Thermal imager is cooking. Let's see what we got. It's not working good enough for him. Seems like it's not cold, he said. I'm 43 degrees. $42. No, I mean, it's working good. But that's the kind of stuff he does. Every time he brings it in, I saw a drop on the ground. Sometimes we find he parked over someone else's leak, and he thinks something's leaking since we put the engine in. Which, I mean, it's understandable. Some people are really worried. But honestly, in my humble opinion as a mechanic, I love when people keep old cars and keep fixing them. The problem is when they expect it to be like brand new and never have a problem. It's just not realistic. If you're going to drive an old car to save money and avoid payments, you're going to be fixing stuff, and that's just how it works. And eventually you won't be able to get parts to fix your old car, and you'll have to replace it. You won't have an option. So 2005, this thing's coming up on 20 years old. You can see all the buttons are worn out. Typical, not only GM, but every brand, the buttons all wear out. And the more you play with it, the faster they wear out, right? Same on the steering wheel. Same on the seat coming apart. So what I'm going to do is auto four-wheel drive option. Yep, auto. I'm going to go and scan all the modules and send Katie a report, including the airbag codes and any other codes it might have. We'll go from there. The air's working fine. So we'll see what happens with this one. I'll show you the airbag code once I get that too, and then we'll move it on. I think on this one, the only thing we're going to do is a bulb, and it's fixed. Got the key on with it in reverse and the parking brake set. So, a couple screws, this one's done, and we'll see what's next. Uh-oh. AC stops working intermittently. I think it's a 2005. I don't have any paperwork yet. They're writing it up. Let's go take a look. Oh, I'm going to make somebody really happy because it's a 2006 and it has a tan interior. I'm going to use a floor mat. Someone said I can't be a good mechanic if I don't use a floor mat. I didn't know that was the criteria. I thought not making a mess when you work on a car and delivering it back to the customer cleaner than you got it made you a good mechanic, and fixed correctly, more importantly. But I know some guys, they work in lube shops or Walmart, and the only thing that matters to them is that you use a seat cover and a floor mat in every car you work on. You can do a terrible job. You can make a mess by putting your boot on the carpet on the side of the floor mat and stuff. They don't want you to use your brain. They want you to be a robot and have a pattern and not be able to analyze when you should use a floor mat, when you don't need a floor mat, and to clean up after yourself if you make a mess. So it's kind of the other way around the way I see it. I know a couple of guys have given me a hard time about not using floor mats and seat covers, but I've been doing this longer than a lot of guys have been alive, and I always give the cars back cleaner than I got them. So thanks for looking out, though. I know you're trying to help when you tell me I should use a floor mat or I'm a hack. So this is a 2006 F150 with an intermittent AC problem. 250,882 miles on this poor baby. Oh my goodness gracious. You've been around the block a few times, haven't you? Oh, look, I got red paint all over me from painting my door in the project truck. Random thought. Anyway, air's on max, fans on a medium speed. It's pretty good. Sometimes evaporators will freeze if you keep the fan on low with it on max. You're a lot better off taking it off max and putting it on a slightly higher fan speed so it doesn't freeze the evaporator. But it does have a cycling switch that will turn the compressor off if it gets below 32 or so, 22 depending on the vehicle, to keep the evaporator from freezing. Matter of fact, this customer jumped out the cycling switch to try to get the air to stay working colder, and it started freezing worse. So he may have a problem with airflow. A lot of times the evaporator gets dirty, not enough air is moving through it, so it freezes even though it's not producing the cold air you'd like, because of the fact that it's restricted with dirt and things like that. Because cabin filters and evaporators both filter the air, so it's important to keep your cabin filters in good shape if your vehicle even has one. Anyway, we're going to run this a little bit. We're going to see if the AC acts up and gives us some trouble. Maybe take it for a drive. He says it does it intermittently, and he said when he jumped it out, it worked good for 5 days and started freezing more often. So my plan is to find out what kind of electrical problem he has. It's obviously full of Freon. It's very cold. So we'll play with it a little while and we'll come back. I don't know if you can see from back here. It looks like it's 6 feet away in a viewfinder, but I'm only about 2 feet away. But there's a lot of glitter down there by the compressor clutch. But it hasn't acted up yet, so I'm going to take it for a little drive, see if we can get this thing to show something. Look at that. Doing an aftermarket throttle body. The factory one was going to take a couple days, and they're from out of town. So we'll do the aftermarket one. I already popped the electrical connector off. You just got to release this little red lock tab, and then it's a regular squeeze connector like regular. And I got to get this little push fastener out of the threaded hole. Yeah. Now if I can get that inlet tube off of there with an 8mm clamp nut, and looks like 8mm bolts on the throttle body too. Quick and easy, 4 bolts and 1 clamp. We'll see. Alright, you. Give me any trouble. Four of those. I'm not sure if you can see it from there, but it's the best I got right now. What's this, Ford day? It is, man. It's have you worked on a Ford lately? Oh, you're gonna have a brand new Ford back on the road any minute. 4 bolts, all started by hand, no power tools. Can't slip that air inlet on you until you get all your bolts tightened up. And these only get about 70 inch-pounds on a torque. And get these things snugged up. I'll have this thing done in no time. We'll see how it runs. Gravity check! Let's get the scan tool. Probably got to do some kind of a relearn, so we'll check on that. Let's get these 2 shaking hands, and we'll do a throttle body relearn. If I can find one in the list, it means it has to be done. If I can't find one in the list, it means it's a-okay without it. So let's see what we get. We'll take a look in special functions. Keep alive memory is the only thing I see so far. Transmission adaptives, fuel economy, programmable module. It's not a programmable module. Actuation test. Let's see if there's anything in there. Some throttle bodies, nothing's needed. It's going to just look at the voltages for idle control and all those kinds of things and be fine. Some vehicles it wants to sweep the throttle body and all that kind of thing. So we'll have to see what we find. Air conditioning, firm shift, fuel pump command, fan control, heater, injector disable. I don't see anything in here for it. Okay. So you know what we'll do? Go ahead and make sure the codes are cleared. We'll do a key on engine off test. Make sure it's not going to set any weird codes or anything like that. Then we'll fire this thing up, see how it runs. Probably have a P1000 because I cleared the codes yesterday, if you remember. Air conditioning shouldn't be on. It's mad about that. Okay. Clear DTCs. Okay. Let's start this thing up. Let's see what we got for... Okay, engine speed a little high right now. Should bring it down. Okay, I'm going to let this run a few minutes, take it for a drive. If there's any doubt, I can do a key on engine running test too, which will definitely bring the RPM up, and if it's not happy, it's going to definitely yell at me. So we'll be good. Seems like it's bringing the idle down already. So it looks at voltages, and it looks at engine speed, and it adjusts the voltage down till and the engine speed down, and they come down together. And if it's happy with where the voltage is and where the engine speed is, then everything's good. If it's not happy, then you'll get a code. So the best way to tell on this is to go take it for a drive, and then we'll see what's next. Oh my goodness, it's not possible. Got a brake pulsation. Ooh, that thing's hot. Oh my goodness gracious, I burned my knuckles holding the hood up. Customer did his own brakes and rotated the tires, but he still has a pulsation he can't get rid of. Got a little too much brake fluid in it. Shouldn't be too bad of a problem. Let's get a look. I only took it on a short drive around the parking lot. I'm going to lift it up and look for an out-around tire first. And then I'll check the work he did on the brakes, and we'll see where we can find something with that. It's got 118,000 miles on it. It's going to get a key chime ringing love rating of 4. So let's get this thing in the air. Well, I can give you some assurance, because it says it right here. These back tires are pretty new, so I'm guessing that's not where the problem is going to be. The front ones, on the other hand, not so new. So it's probably going to be up here. This tire looks pretty good. I just spin them and I watch the ground. I watch the tire doesn't go bloop, bloop, bloop. Try this side. Watch the ground. Oh, that's no good. That's a lumpy tire. Not supposed to do that. You want to see, I'll hold you steady. That bump is bad. These two front tires. They said, Jimmy, take a look at this diesel truck. It's got engine noise. I don't know. Just rowing my boat over here. Sounds like a Cummins. I'll let it run a little while, see if it does anything weird. Actually, what I'll probably do is shut it off, check the oil real quick first. Then I'll let it run a little while. Ooh, that is in there. I'll wipe it off because it's been splashed all over by the spinning crankshaft. Oil is full and looks like diesel oil, which you can change the oil on these sometimes and the oil will look just like you never changed it afterwards. So you gotta go by mileage, or more accurately, engine hours. Let's fire this thing back up. 211,542 miles. Just breaking in for a Cummins. So I'm told by Cummins fans. I hear little weird noises, but nothing. They said it was making a horrendous noise. So I don't know what's gonna happen with this one, but I'll play with it a little while, see if we can get it to do something. This little yellow light is not a problem. It means to have engine braking on. Kind of strange. Alright, I'll play with it a little while. We'll come back, see what's going on with it. Probably really hard to hear over all the diesel stuff. There's definitely something going on in the pulley system, like an alternator or an idler or a tensioner. Something's happening. Something's locked up. Gonna find out what it is in a second. Alternator? That's the alternator. The pulley stopped turning. Look at that. Now we know exactly what it was. Alternator's locking up. Rubber coming off on the bottom. Alright, needs an alternator and a belt. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Something like that. Oh, it smells bad. Woof. She's a nasty girl. You bad ram, Dodge ramming. Oop, something happened. Ah, the belt came off. That's terrible news. 100% positive on this one. No shotgun auto service. We got a Ford with a AC not working as good as it should. Got the machine hooked up already. Let's take a look at the pressures. Ah, there goes Paul's toolbox. All right, what year is this thing? 2014, 8 of 2014. It might be a 2015. 179,912 miles. Love rating of 4. Not too bad, not too good. The seat is absolutely blown out. The cushion's like non-existent. Oh, no gas, so we can't run it too long. Look at that thing. All right, let's go see what the pressures look like. The air's on and it's doing something. Definitely feels like low Freon or something like that. Well, that's pulling that low side down a little too far. It was a little low. I had to add a half a pound of Freon. I'm gonna look around. This compressor looks a little wet. I don't know if that's from the valve cover or the AC. So we'll take a look with the daylight real quick. Oh, that's a leaking front seal. You guys see it? I know that shows up without a daylight, without the glasses. Let's get you some glasses. What do you say? Shine that in there. I'll give you those. I can't tell if it shows up or not, but trust me, this dye in the center of the pulley, it's yellow, but it's not yellow on the outside, so there's some dye squirting out the front of that compressor. So let me let them know up front, see what they want to do. All right, let's get this out of the way. While they work on this estimate, I'm going to pull in a Nissan Sentra for some AC work. I looked at it with Riley on the alignment rack real quick. Got a bad compressor. Let's do it. Let's get some, got to get the Freon out of your way before you can get the compressor and stuff out. compressor, basically this thing had 140 over 75 psi. If you hit the gas, it would bring the low side down and get colder, but it was never really great. So compressor has left the building.
Going up a little bit.
No worries, we got new ones here already. Oh, nice box you got there. Alright, she's on recycle. It'll pull the freon out of this thing. When it gets under zero, we'll be good to go to start pulling stuff apart. Should only take a minute. I got a big box, which I think is a condenser. It's under that plastic shield. 2 10s and a couple plastic clips. It's out of there. In here somewhere. I'm gonna take this out. Looks like some twirls, some clips. That's out of there. It's easy. Oh, one way. This here cross brace, it says, oh, it just comes right out of there just a little bit. Just to pop a clip off, a couple of bolts, you're done. But it looks like the horn wants to go into the condenser. So I'll have to make note of that when I put the new one in, and it really matters. These horn connectors should slide off of there. They get dirt in them and stuff though. Just push this little tab in is what I'm trying to do. It's easy. The condenser is only like 1.1 hours labor, which, I don't know, I guess that's right. I don't know. Who might have judged? Look at that. That's what they're saying. Just lift it out. You don't have to undo the hood latch. It's out. Now the condenser is supposedly right there. Looks like a couple of 10s maybe. Yeah, the bottom lifts out. The top is 10 millimeters. I'm going to take the old condenser out, but not put the new one in until I put the compressor in. Because that's the dryer's in the condenser and it's not serviceable. At least that's what I was told. I haven't verified it myself yet. There's a connector down there you got to get, a couple of lines. Uh-oh. Some of the bolts are 12, some are 13s. Choose your socket at your own peril. Don't worry, nothing exploded. I just took the grill out. It just sits in these slots. I thought it was hard to get out. And while I'm playing with it, boom, it fell out, so I set it up there. So now I'm going to get an extension and get to those 10 millimeter bolts for the manifold hoses on the compressor. I think once I take them off, I can do the rest from underneath. Alright, let's see here. Extension's a little longer than I needed, but I can live with my decision. That's alright. One more. It's on this side. Once you get the hose off the condenser and the compressor, the high side one at least, you just get it out of your way. Now I should be able to lift it up and it should be pretty easy from underneath. A few more bolts, a few more clips. You can barely get this wheel well out to get to the belt tensioner, but it looks like a 14 on a gear wrench to me. Let's see. Oh, you guys fell. Goodness gracious. There's nothing's easy on this little 4-cylinder. I mean, the pressure's like right there, but you gotta take all the whole wheel well out to get to the belt tensioner. It's kind of strange. They used to put little access covers back in the day. Yeah, not anymore. They're like, yeah, we're just paying 0.2, no big deal. Do what we want, paying 0.2. But you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face. I'm gonna get this thing done in a timely fashion. It's gonna turn out to be a good ticket. Watch. Watch and see. They can make the labor times ridiculous. They can make it so parts are terrible and they constantly have to be warranted. They can keep smiling, keep rowing, do what you have to do. Ooh, that one was tight. All right, you. Hope you like that. Still got a smile on my face. You're trying to stop, huh? All right, not happening. This thing's almost out. Stop horsing around, will you? Holy moly, this connector's a bear. Oh, goodness gracious. That's out. There's two connectors up there. You gotta be careful. There's one for the clutch, and one for the variable displacement, and this one here, she didn't want to go out. She wanted to stay in for the night, watch a movie, sit by the fire, have some popcorn and bonbons. But we got it done. All right, Mr. O-Ring, let's go. Had about enough out of you. Even looks like the right one. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's nice. A little oil on that thing. You never want to stick it in dry. Now I took the metal plates off the compressor, but I left the rubber plugs in there just so no dirt goes in there while I'm messing with everything. I'll pull them out right before I put the hoses on. This back bolt's a little bit of a bear to fit out, so I just slid it in ahead of time. Get this snugged up down here. In good shape. Might have this done tonight, we'll see. This is one of those jobs this extended ratchet's good for. That extra couple inches really gets the job done. No, it is not what I meant. Get that back hose in, so I pulled that plug out. Ah, that wasn't so bad. Compressor's easier than the condenser. Got to switch over the high pressure cutoff. It's supposed to be metric, but 15/16 fits. I believe it's 23 millimeters, something like that. Condenser looks like it's got a little tweakage going on, but they're pretty soft, so you can always tweak them back into place a little bit when you need. All right, now set it down. I don't want any resistance. That should be good. Definitely want to line those witness marks up. Why one's a 12 and one's a 13, I don't know. Maybe the car was in an accident or something and they used what they had for hardware. But I would think they'd match. They don't. One's plugged in, one bolts are in. I like to take a look around, double check stuff. Just kind of does a little snap-a-doodle thing. That's about it. A couple push pins in the grill. Alright, I've got 2 bolts and like 6 push clips left. The moment of truth. I'll fire this thing up, see how the air works. Look at that son of a gun. Let this run a minute and see how cold it gets. Oh wow, if you guys could feel that, let me tell you something. Let me brag a minute how good that air is working. If it's hot and muggy where you're at, like it is here in Central Florida, it's August now, so August is about the hottest month we get in Central Florida. Usually mid 90s, 97, 98 sometimes. And when the rain comes, you're like, yeah, because it cools it down like 10, 15 degrees. But anyway, if it's hot where you're at, what I was trying to say, you would love this AC. This is nice. That's where we're going to end today's video. You can see behind me, they're closing the doors down already. I've got tons of work. We're busy as hell. Rob is taking in everything and anything. Is really hungry to prove that he's a better replacement than Paul, I guess. But I still feel terrible for Paul. But so far, we've been slammed. I've got like 4 AC jobs lined up today. Got a transmission for that Lexus that's been out there for about a month. Got alternators and belt for that Dodge truck. They're telling me I might not get to it till Friday because of all the work I have. You wait and see. We'll see when we get to it. Thanks for watching today's video, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you'll throw up the like button before you leave. Maybe subscribe if you're new. And I hope I see you in the next video, because you're awesome.